Good morning. Today on Spotlight, fighting back against gun violence. What one Wayne County commissioner who has personally felt the pain of these shootings is trying to do to make Michigan a lot safer. Reggie Davis will join us. And later, how an Oakland County women's group called Impact 100 is raising money and giving it away to make a difference in one of Michigan's most influential regions. It's Sunday, December the 2nd. I'm Chuck Stokes, and this is Spotlight. And welcome to Spotlight down here at the Cube, our home away from home. We'll start here. Later on, we'll be back in Southfield and do an interview there with Impact 100 of Oakland County. But Reggie Reg Davis, you've got this thing called the bullet bill. For those who haven't been paying close attention, what is it and what do you want to do?
So Chuck, the Ceasefire Youth Initiative, which is my nonprofit, and it's dedicated in a memorial of my brother. My kid brother lost his life, Vito, to gun violence in 2001. My team sat down.
That had to be difficult.
Oh my goodness. It's been a long time, seemed like it was yesterday. But my team, we sat down, Ceasefire Youth Initiative, and we came up with this idea of putting together some sort of language, and we were referring to it as the bullet bill. And what the bullet bill is, as far as I'm concerned, is a means to an end. We tried many different things in the city of Detroit, nothing works. We continue to see Detroit have more numbers as far as homicides as a result of senseless gun violence each year compared to Los Angeles, California. They have 4.5 million people. We have 700,000. We lose somewhere around the area of 1/2 of 1% of our population in the city of Detroit thanks to senseless gun violence. That needs to stop. Okay.
But how do you start? Everybody says that across the country, not just here. But we continue to see gun violence escalate in this community and throughout this nation. I mean, you compare this nation with other nations, they look at us and like, my gracious, what is going on over there in America? Right. But yet, it's so difficult to be able to change this.
I'll say this, Chuck. If the NRA doesn't sit down with cats like myself, with you, with all walks, and say that we must figure out something that we can put together to start to change the course of this immediately, then we're going to be in trouble. The bullet bill is really just, it's not the answer, it's not the end all. It is language that talks about things like purchasing ammunition in the state of Michigan, and prior to doing that, you must go through a background check, which includes your mental health record. It talks about putting serial numbers or some type of tracking mechanism on ammunition so that the situation with the senior lady who lives in the city of Detroit by herself, who continues to have a young man who goes out in front of her house and shoots the house up over and over again, they still haven't found that guy. If the bullets were taken out of the wall and you were able to trace back to whoever purchased the ammunition, we could have easily found that guy and helped him with this mental illness or whatever it is that he's having. We don't know what he's going to do next. We got to find that guy.
But how do you tackle this? Because you mentioned the NRA earlier. The NRA is going to say this is not a gun problem, this is a people problem. Guns don't kill, people kill. And if you start going after guns and a lot of the laws associated with guns, because we already have a lot of laws already on the books, then you're going to encroach upon our constitutional rights. So
to Mr. and Mrs. NRA, if we put the taxes on the ammunition, we want to do a number of things with the proceeds. We like to help families bury their loved ones that can't afford to do so. At the same time, we like to teach urban American folk, young urban American folk, about their Second Amendment right, why it's important, what is a gun, why should you have a gun. You want to be
so you're not anti-Second Amendment?
Not at all, not one bit. It's actually just the opposite. We want young black folk, especially, really everybody, but I'm speaking about the city of Detroit and young people who decide to pick up a gun and murder their friend to resolve a conflict. That's the major issue right there.
Many times we're reporting on a gun that was picked up that was not properly secured and locked up by a responsible adult. A young kid gets a hold of that gun, ends up doing some violence to himself or to a friend, and then everybody's crying about it. But proper steps weren't taken in the first place.
You said a very important word. You said the term responsible. Chuck, we will start the process of making all the citizens of Detroit responsible gun owners. That means that if we can trace back to you, you went out of town, your son had some friends over, one guy took a bullet out of the closet, took it home, somebody got that bullet, put it in a gun, shot and killed somebody. It comes back to you, and then we can trace back to your son's friend for him to answer to the.
So a lot of it's education.
Absolutely. So that's what this is all about. And if we put the tax on that piece of ammunition, then we can start the process of educating the citizenry of Detroit.
All right, you got the Detroit City Council to accept your resolution.
Yes.
Now you got to move on to the next step.
Yep.
We're going to take a little break, and when we come back, I want you to talk about what's next.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll be right back with Commissioner Reggie Reg Davis. Commissioner, what's next? Okay, you got the Detroit City Council on your side, but that's while that's important, especially in the largest city in this state, that's just one city council in a big state.
Absolutely. I'd like to say, first off, special thanks to Councilman Andre Spivey for deciding to take this on his back and sponsoring this before council. And thank you to the entire body of Detroit City Council for understanding this mission that we're on.
Sure.
The next step is to go to Lansing, because as we know,
and you know, for him it's probably personal because he's also a minister.
Absolutely.
And sees the other side. He's
everybody at that
oftentimes
table
doing a eulogy or presiding over a funeral where somebody senselessly lost their life.
We got a unanimous vote because everybody at that council table lives in the city of Detroit. They hear the gunshots, and they lose loved ones. So that's how we got the unanimous vote. Right. So we go up to Lansing, and with this point, have a few freshman legislators who are willing to do the same thing that Andre Spivey did.
You got a whole new crew in Lansing that you're going to have to lobby.
But that's where we get it done. It's state law. It's federal law when you talk about bullets and guns. So we need to take this to Lansing so that we can start to craft this bullet bill the right way.
One person, one citizen saying it's got to start somewhere, but it has to be lots of people starting it different ways.
But sometimes it takes that, Chuck. It takes one or two people that have an idea and they're willing to really push it for things to be heard and for action to start to happen. So, I'm very happy to say that we have some interested parties on the state level in Lansing, and at the same time, D.C. We have, I don't want to say any names right now, but we have a senator and a congressperson who is listening to us with the right ear, and they're willing to help us take this all the way. So that's a very important piece.
Have you had a conversation with Detroit Police Chief James Craig yet? Because he's had some controversial stances on this, but he's very much believe in the Second Amendment and says, don't take my guns, and he doesn't want Detroit citizens to lose their gun, and you're saying the same thing.
You got Ralph Gobby, you got Benny Napoleon, you got Chief Craig. They're all friends of mine, and these are law enforcement guys. And they like the idea. I think it's some things that we can probably change to, I think, get their attention a little better. But they understand. They understand the mission is that this is hopefully a means to an end. The bottom line is the violent crimes, the senseless gun violence that continues to happen in our city. We must figure out a way to stop it. That's the bottom line, Chuck. I mean, it needs to stop.
Right.
What more can I say?
But you're prepared to do some shifting, some adjusting, some negotiating, because that's what legislation is all about.
Absolutely.
You start at point A and work your way to point Z.
Yeah.
So you aren't saying it has to be hard and fast what I have on paper now, but this gives us a start of a conversation, and then tell me what you want, I'll tell you what I want, and let's see where we can agree
That's how
upon.
things work. So to Mr. and Mrs. NRA, you look at the different situations. I think the last situation was in California at a country music club or something like that, where a young man walked in and he starts shooting everybody up. And it always goes back to mental health. So, a very important part of the bullet bill talks about how when you purchase ammunition in the state of Michigan, you got to go through a background check, which includes your mental health record. That's a major piece. But Mr. and Mrs. NRA, if we can get your support, we can make this happen much easier.
Final question, and you touched on it. People I've interviewed before, they say that nothing really seriously gets done on this unless America starts to seriously address the issue of mental health.
Absolutely.
You agree?
Abso-freaking-lutely. Mental health is everything. Without our minds, we have nothing. Nothing at all. Imagine if your mind doesn't work. You can't do anything. So we have to learn to pay better attention to the health of our minds. When you have young people in the city of Detroit, just for an example, who continue to say, I'm going to solve this conflict, or you stepped on my shoes and you shouldn't have done that. You've been my friend for 15 years, but you know what? You stepped on my shoe and I'm mad. I'm going to take this gun. I'm going to take your life. That's part that comes from here. So we must figure out ways to better address the issues around mental health, and that's part of what the Bullet Bill is all about, Chuck.
Commissioner Davis,
thank you,
for coming
Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
We'll follow your efforts on this.
Yes,
and
sir.
See where
Wish
it leads.
us well.
All right, we'll do. And we'll be back in just a little bit. We'll head to Southfield. We'll sit down with two women who are involved with an organization called Impact 100 out in Oakland County. We'll be right back. And joining me now on Spotlight is Mary Pat Rosen to my immediate left. She is president of Impact 100 Oakland County, and we appreciate you joining me. And seated next to her is Heather Ray, and you are president of Common Ground. Yes. And thanks for joining me, both of you. Let me begin with you. What is Impact 100? I've been around here a long time, and I gotta admit, I'm not familiar with it.
Okay, well, Impact 100 started as a concept of getting together 100 women, paying $1,000, and giving the entire amount, 100% of the membership dues.
They do that yearly or just one time only?
Annually. Okay. And then we give it away as awarded to a nonprofit in an impactful grant of $100,000. So that's the way it started. So Oakland County, we started our chapter in 2016, and we had 100 members, and we gave away $100,000 that year. Last year,
that number's grown, hasn't it?
It has. So every year we try to get more and more members, because then we can be more impactful. Right. And last year we had 201 members, so we gave away, awarded 2 grants to 2 nonprofits in Oakland County.
And this year you've upped it to 3.
This year we had 270 members, so we had $270,000 to award, so we gave 3 $90,000 grants to, and it's to nonprofits that serve residents in Oakland County.
All right, I want to find out all 3 in just a second. You're one of the 3.
Yes.
Okay, and you're with Common Ground. Ms. Ray, tell us, what is Common Ground?
So Common Ground's core purpose is helping people move from crisis to hope. So we provide crisis support of people experiencing all kinds of crises. Legal crises, victim of crime crises, mental health crises, people that are experiencing suicidal thoughts, families in crisis, housing crisis, so really everything crisis at Common Ground.
So when you heard that you were getting $90,000, that wasn't in your original budget, how excited were you?
Well, I was very excited, and they gave us this, large check. It was not just a large amount.
That's hard to cash at the bank, right?
Yes.
No. All right.
Yes. And it was wonderful. We had a great experience with Impact 100, and we're really looking forward to that relationship.
I understand that you have about 70 applicants, so 3 out of 70 get it, so that means a whole lot of folks didn't get it, but that must mean that you did something extraordinary. From your perspective, and then I'll get your perspective, what do you think you did that outdistanced the others?
Well, I think the impact that Common Ground has, last year we served over 80,000 people in Oakland County, so we have a big footprint in terms of providing crisis services to people in our county. But specifically for the Impact 100 grant, it was to reach youth through text and chat who are not calling a crisis line.
Which is how they communicate these days.
Exactly.
Yeah. Did you find that they do one more than the other in terms of text versus chat?
At this point, it looks like the chat has increased more significantly than the text, but they're both up dramatically from the limited hours that we had. Now we're able to expand it to 24/7 through the end of next year. So we're really excited about that.
Ms. Rosen, what stood out from all of you that made you want to say Common Ground should be one of the three?
Well, here I can maybe explain the process a little bit, and every year it's different. So what we do is, when we know what our membership number is and how much there is to be awarded, we put that information out to the nonprofits, and we start a grant review process. And we have 5 categories that we look at: health and wellness, education, family, arts and culture, and recreation and environment. So then we have 5 focus groups that evaluate the applications for the grants. They do site visits, and we do a deep dive on their financials, because this is a lot of money that
you don't want the money
awarded.
wasted.
Yeah, and so each of those focus groups are member driven. It's just our members. So they go through that. They come up with 5 finalists. Those 5 finalists then present at our annual meeting in October, and so that's when the entire membership votes on who the award recipients are.
Yeah.
So.
When you decided to start this out in Oakland County, I think a lot of Oakland County has this perception or stereotype, right or wrong, that it's the rich county. Maybe because L. Brooks Patterson, for umpteen number of interviews and years, has told us it's the engine that drives Michigan's economy. Of course, other counties debate that. But it does have this reputation.
It does.
And so I think there's probably a perception that people feel like, well, there are no real serious problems out there in Oakland County. But you're saying, no, you need organizations like this.
Oh, absolutely. That was part of the reason that we wanted to just affect the residents in Oakland County. We wanted to give back in our own backyard. And what Impact 100 has done at Oakland County has taught us what those needs are in Oakland County. I worked in Detroit, and so I saw...
And we should say that your day-to-day job is that you're a corporate attorney.
Yeah, well, a litigation attorney,
litigation attorney, okay.
So I saw a lot of growth going on in Detroit, and a lot of attention being given to Detroit, which is amazing. But I did, and the group that we're with thought that not enough focus was being given to the residents of Oakland County, and we thought we could be more impactful by staying in Oakland County. So.
All right, we're going to take a break. We'll let you say which law firm are you with, just so.
I am with Sharfus and Christensen.
All right, just so your colleagues can cheer you.
Thank
All right,
you.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll dive down more on Impact 100, as well as some of the things that you hope to accomplish over the next several years. We'll be right back. Don't go away. And welcome back to Spotlight. Let me start with you, and then we'll bounce over and talk a little bit more about Impact 100. What's next for Common Ground now that you've got a $90,000 shot in the arm?
So the overall mission that I really want to see happen, or the vision I want to see happen in the next few years, is that we're able to serve all people in crisis, regardless of their ability to pay, regardless of their insurance or where they live. It shouldn't matter, if you have insurance when you're having an emergency. So we want the crisis text line and chat to be available for everyone, which it is, but not all of our services are available to all people. Mm-hmm. So I really want to make that the
strategic to cut across
direction.
All lines.
Yes.
Are you surprised by the recent statistic that suicides are on the increase?
We're seeing it, so it doesn't surprise me, but it is alarming. 33%, up 33% in Michigan, which is higher than the national increase of suicide. So it is not only a national problem, but it's a big problem here in Michigan.
A lot of it, I understand, is connected to the opioid crisis, but some of this came on before that really went berserk too.
Yeah, it's connected, but it's not the cause of the increase.
All right. And there's an 800 number I think you wanted to share.
Yes. So the crisis resource and crisis helpline phone number, which is also the number that people can text, is 1-800-231-1127.
All right, and that's manned 24/7?
24/7.
All right, so kids can call it anytime they want.
Or text or chat, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
And you asked how did they rise to the top to be an award recipient. That's a perfect example why.
Yeah,
The
they were in
impact that
touch
they're
with
making.
this generation and the way people are communicating. Let's talk a little bit about Impact 100 is not just in Oakland County.
No, actually it started as this concept I talked about in Cincinnati. Wendy Steele kind of brought the idea to the forefront, and then there are Impact 100s across the country and in Australia, actually. And we're really unique here in Southeast Michigan is that there are actually 3 Impact 100s, one in Macomb County serving Macomb County residents, and one is Metro, I think it's Impact 100 Metro, serving Oakland, Macomb, and Wayne County. So, the nonprofits have the ability to apply to these different Impact 100s. We're all autonomous, we all have our own boards, but we're pretty much with the same philosophy that what we want to do is make transformational, impactful grants in our own backyard.
How big do you want to grow? Sky's the limit?
Sky's the limit, yes.
And talk about membership. Who can join this? First of all, you have to be female?
You have to be female.
All right,
yes.
so that X's out a bunch of us guys. Okay.
Yeah, but it doesn't preclude you from donating.
Oh, okay.
So we
you
would
take our money, but we can't join.
Exactly.
That's all right. That's all right.
We are 100% volunteer, so we do rely on outside donations to help us with our administrative expenses. But yeah, it's empowering women, and
well, I was just going to ask you that. Is this the part of? I mean, we're seeing the Me Too generation movement. We are also just saw this pink wave in terms of voting here in Michigan. I think women are showing their power and flexing their muscles, so to speak.
So to speak, we are, yes. And we think by pooling our resources together, we can make an impact in our, like we said, in our own backyard, in our neighborhood. So, yeah, so any female, 18 years or older, could be a member, and it is an annual membership. We renew every year.
If you win, like Common Ground and Heather Ray just won, can they apply again next year, or is it, nope, once you've gotten it, you can never apply again?
So that's interesting. We just talked about this last night at our board meeting. We do right now what we...
And she's listening intently.
I know.
Okay.
We are going to be defining that, but while this project is going on, she would not be able to reapply for that project.
Pass it around.
But perhaps for another project, if there was another project that came up.
Mary Pat Rosen, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Heather Ray, thank you so
you.
much, and best of luck to the both of you. And we want to thank you at home for joining us. I'm Chuck Stokes. We'll be back next week with more newsmakers in the spotlight. We hope you have a great week.